Hello and welcome to episode 356 of Picks and Ponies right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. We are in the suburbs of London getting ready for an incredible week of racing. It is Royal Ascot. I'm with my good friend and compadre. Cheers, Davey, of the glasses of wine here as we've had a wonderful trip and we are ending it with 2 great days at Ascot. Absolutely. Davey, this is clearly the highlight, or certainly one of the highlights of the entire year of European racing.
It really is. It's a spectacle. It's British. The British establishment dresses in their finest regalia and puts on a big show. This year, perhaps, there's less of the foreign international raiders that they like to talk about. No big Australians, just one. No Hong Kong, no Japanese. Very small Wesley Ward brigade. But there are little bits. There's a Qatari trainer coming. The winner of the French Oaks is an Italian trainer. So the world of racing is still large. It's still interesting, and people need to get to know who these people are as well.
And before we deep dive into what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is we're going to be deep diving into the first 4 races of day 1, and then Davey will give his tips very briefly for day 2. But Davey, over the last week here in not only in the UK but in France and all over, all we've heard from news outlets, other podcasts, the first 4 races on day 1, Tuesday, are going to be absolutely outstanding. Clearly the 4 best races in a row all week.
Yeah, well, not just all week, probably the 4 best races in British racing all year. Probably. So that's something to get interested in. So we might as well cover them the best we can. And why not get ready for the Queen Anne then, and we'll open up the
absolutely. Yep, we'll jump right into the Queen Anne. You're going to see picks on the bottom of the screen, and Davey, I want to just apologize to you just a little bit because I put my picks in and I did not get your picks in before we did the show. So we'll just call them out here as we do that. Give me 1 second, please.
Right.
Let me first have your picks in the top 3, and then we'll talk about the race in race 1, the Queen Anne.
Okay, I'll be going with the 11, the 8, and the 3. The 11, Maljume, a William Haggis horse. The
Terrific.
8, French horse Factor Cheval, and the 3rd, another French horse, Dolai. And we can talk about them. One thing to note: Howard and I are both wearing straw hats, which we accumulated on our various Southern Europe adventures. But really, we ran into a lot of rain and what have you. But our arrival in London has coincided with very, very strong sunshine and heat. So we're keeping the summer hats on.
We did. And those Delali is the 7. Did you give me post positions, Davey, or did you give me the actual numbers?
I believe I gave you the numbers.
Okay. We'll go ahead and double check that.
Apologies for folks, but we've been traveling, so this is no
worries. As we're speaking right now, I'm just double checking to see what you sent. You've got in the Queen Anne, you've got 1187 actually are the correct numbers. Let me go ahead and switch that. I was correct. It was the 7, and we'll go ahead and switch that, and we'll jump in to the race. Here we go. Again, Davey's going 1187. I'm going 5117. Dave, the Queen Anne is a race 1. It's at 2:30 local. That is, I believe, 5 hours before. So that's going to be 9:30, I believe, East Coast time. No, excuse me, 10:30 East Coast time, if I have that correct. It's the Queen Anne. They're going 1 mile on the straight. You're going number 11, and there are several horses, Davey, tomorrow, Tuesday, that you've already bet anti-post. I want you to talk about that as well. But you're going to go with the number 11, talk about him in the Queen Anne.
Well, I have taken 16 to 1 on Maljume. He's currently 8 to 1. And Howard saw the bets. I think I also took him at 12. So what you have to bear in mind with Maljume is his trainer. His trainer is a chap called William Haggis, probably the best trainer outside of John Gosden in the UK, maybe not as familiar to American audiences. But he had the prohibitive favourite for the English Derby. I know people know City of Troy did what he did. the horse may have been a bleeder, but he was very patient, and he withdrew him from the Derby, so he wasn't tempted to resupplement him after the horse went to York and ran a blinder in the Dante, which is a trial for the Derby. So he's patient, and with this horse, he's also patient because a couple of years ago, this horse should have won the St. James Palace at Royal Ascot, then beating Corbis, the big Godolphin favourite at the time, and he was blocked on a late run on foot, and should have won the race if anyone cares to watch it. Has been injured, but has been brought back slowly. And if the trainer is running him, he's been patient to keep him ticking over, getting him healthy. It's good enough for me. It's a former German 2,000 guineas winner, and in its early days, and it's had only 2 runs over 2 years. And I think with the hot ground, watch out. So that's the horse for me.
Well, that's something that we need to talk about. Also, could you talk about what we see here on the screen? I'm going to switch to the first race. These are some current odds right now in the anti-post market, but I know you mentioned that people need to be a bit careful if they do see this online. This is courtesy of Odds Checker. Can you talk very briefly about what people are seeing here, Davey?
Okay, well, the first reaction, if we see the screen, of people to look at Odds Checker is to look at the blue and the pink. And the blue means a horse is sharp, is shortening. The pink means the horse is drifting. The price is getting larger. And most Americans instinctively will look at that and say, well, this horse is taking money. But that's not necessarily the case. The horse can be shortening or drifting based on numerous factors, such as a non-runner, such as a change of jockey, such as some comment a trainer made, or something, or a tipster has made a tip on a certain day that, I mean, if you're in the UK, people are signed up to tipsters as well. And when that tip comes out, well, the bookies have advanced word of that, and they make a market adjustment. So it's not always the market, money moving markets. I mean, and you have to know when the difference is between that. So a lot of what we're seeing right now probably is market adjustments. Money comes in on the day of the race and you notice it, or overnight, what have you. So people have to be cautious of that. If people are betting big, they want to make sure the horse is ready and right to go, and so on.
Absolutely. It's very interesting to look at that. And you've already gotten a fantastic price on the horse you like. I'm going to go with the number 5 in this race, who is 5-2 in the morning line. That's Charin, who has been fantastic really throughout his career. Has won, over $650,000. Did lose to Audience last time. That Lockenge was a weird race. Audience upset the field, went to the lead, but Charin was coming late. And we talked about Ascot, Davey. For people that are not familiar with the configuration, it is an uphill finish, so that'd be what's deemed a stiff 1 mile or a stiff 6 furlongs when they're running on the straight there. That uphill finish that could absolutely make a difference.
It sure can, and if horses haven't experienced that, it can catch them out. So you have to be aware of which horses have had experience on stiff tracks, where they're facing an incline and a rise, as opposed to who's gone around on a flat track. Makes a big difference. As anyone knows,
race, the horse, just very quickly, Dolali, the French bred, Mikel Barcelona, very talented rider, 21 morning line, been drifting down though, in price on about 12s approximately. This is a very consistent horse that we like underneath.
Yeah, we do. And I'm not sure why it's drifting, if someone tipped him or not. But if you were at Chantilly on Sunday, every time you looked at a race, the trainer, Henri Graffard, was winning a race of one kind or another every time you looked. So the stable's in really, really hot form. Mikel Barcelona has gone over for the ride from France to the UK. And he's, since Christophe Soumillon was taken off the Aga Khan rides, the best jockey available often gets on, and Barcelona is one of the best jockeys available. So this is a horse that could upset the apple cart, but I'm confident with Maljoum. He's a horse I've followed, and I'm sticking with him. And as soon as I knew he was fit and named the race, I was ready to play.
Okay, Queen Anne. So the Factor Cheval we're both taking on, who's 3-1 and did win in the Middle East, but we're taking him on. Let's go to the next race, Dave. The next race here.
well, one thing for Factor Cheval, I mean, it's, you know, it has been prepped for this and aimed for this race, and it turned down very lucrative invitations to run in Hong Kong in March and April for this race as well. So we're taking it on, but we respect it.
No, absolutely. You know, it's just one of those horses that's going to take a lot of money that we feel like can be beaten. And when you have these huge races at Ascot with big fields and so many good horses, similar to the Breeders' Cup, you really don't want to take a short price unless you really, really love the horse or think that horse is going to win for sure. Let's go on to race 2. Now, I want to be very clear to everyone that picks on the bottom of the screen. These are not really Davy's top 3. It's an extremely difficult race. The Coventry, it's 6 furlongs for 2-year-olds. It's extremely difficult, like we said. Davy likes the 2 and the 9 to finish, you know, in the top 2. He also likes the 19, but I wanted to make it clear once again, those are not his definitive top 3. I'm going 9, 6, 19. Why don't you talk about the 2 and the 9 briefly, and I'll bring up the past performances, Davy. This is, again, going a straight course with a stiff finish, 6 furlongs. We should also mention, Davy, summer has come here to the UK. All of a sudden, it's been a cold, sort of a wet spring into, you know, early part of May, but it's absolutely beautiful today. It's supposed to be very good weather Tuesday and Wednesday, and the track is going to be good to possibly firm in places, which I think is a very welcome sight for many punters and at least fans going to the races like us, for sure.
Right, and that should play into what the best horses are in this race, and those for me are the 2 best horses, the 2 and the 9. Anderstein and Coward of the Country. The former trained by Carl Burt, the best northern trainer in the UK, and close behind Haggis and Gosden in terms of overall in the UK, and Coward of the County, Joseph O'Brien. So, but what you have to understand about the Coventry, that's, you know, it's a charge of the life brigade type of race, and you have to really break it down into separate races, and because there'll be races within races. So I would map it out by the draw and see where the pace is and who's got the other best horses around your chosen horse, and that brings other horses into it. I would have what I would call bomb insurance in this race. You know, I like the 2, the 9, and the 19, but I'd look at the 14, Mr. Chaplin, as bomb insurance. And I'd also pay attention to a couple of other horses, Tom Marquand on the 22, Mo be there. And also there's another thing, then we talked about this at Ascot last year, Howard. The Emir of Qatar had bought all the horses last year, and we thought that was a lot, but it's actually bought many more this year, specifically to run at Ascot. And in this race, there are 3 for Watnam Racing, and James Doyle, who's the retained jockey for Watnam right now, formerly with Godolphin, has chosen to rise Catalyst. It's a 12-1 shot, drawn 6, number 6. So that really has a chance as well. So I would be looking at the 14, the 6, and the 22 alongside the 19. As any of those 4 horses can really get close to the 2 and the 9. So that's 6 horses. I'm sorry, I can't break it down much more than that. And, you know, there may be a couple of others, the 16 and the 20, if you really, really want to go on the premium bomb insurance. Those things are stupid prices. They're like 150 to 1, and they shouldn't be that. They should be like the 50 to 1 or 40 to 1 or something like this. But this is English bookies trying to entice people in, offering them great big prices that in theory you shouldn't be able to get. Now, sometimes those can pay off if you're gutsy enough to play them. Turner's Cross as was very poor on its first start, but it's got entries, and I like the breeding, No Nay Never, and anyway. So and I like the connections. The jockey and trainer are always fantastic when they make raids over from Ireland to England. And don't ignore Rashabar, great young English jockey. Billy Loughnane rides that horse, and that could surprise a few. But for the purposes of trying to like break it down to its lowest possible fraction, you know, I give you those 6. I give you the 1, 2, 3 like I have on the screen, but I wouldn't ignore the 6, the 14, and the 22.
It's a big guessing game. You want to spread. I will say we're not exactly sure, as we're filming here on Monday, what the American betting pools will be like. They usually have doubles available. They usually also have pick 3s available in some races. So if you're a horizontal bettor in the United States, this is absolutely a spread race. It's basically an N1X. It's an allowance race of basically non-winners of one, and a lot of these horses obviously have won already. So it's extremely difficult but fun race. Let's go on to race 3, David. This is another sprint. This is for the older horses. There are some, I was going to say the boys, but there are some female horses. This is pretty common. You'll see in Europe where you see female horses running against male horses. The race is the King Charles III Stakes. You can see it on the screen. It is 6 furlongs. Actually, it's 5 furlongs, I believe. Is that correct, Dave? I'll double check.
Correct. 5
furlongs. It is 5 furlongs, or again, 1,000 meters for our friends that might be watching this or listening to this over in Europe. I'm going 6, 5, 9. Davey is going 5, 9, 12. Davey, another very challenging race. What's your thoughts in an excellent rendition of the King Charles?
Well, I mean, this is another charge of the Light Brigade, but with more experienced horses. And in that respect, I'm choosing the 5 and the 9, the older horses, over a horse people will know in the States, Breeders' Cup winner Big Evs. Big Evs won first time out. Has a 3-year-old here in the UK. Convinced me enough, but it didn't convince a lot of the so-called TV experts who were sort of wondering whether she was trained on or what have you, despite winning. And it was a very low class grade race that they ran her in. So out of respect, I'm keeping her in 12, but I think the 5 and the 9 are the 2 best sprinters in the race, and it's between those 2 horses.
Well, let me just show Big Evs on the screen. We're both taking him on. He was a very talented horse. He won, of course, at Santa Anita for our American punters. Might remember just stalked and went to lead. But Santa Anita, Davey, going 5 furlongs is completely, and I mean completely different from Ascot 5 furlongs with an uphill finish, even if the ground is pretty firm. And it seems to me there's a lot more speed signed on in this race than the race that Big Evs was in before. And you know he's going to take a lot of money from American punters. So we are both against that horse. You're going with the 5 on top. Talk about regional 9-2 in the American past performances morning line.
Well, this horse needs fast ground and a fast pace, and he gets it tomorrow. And it wasn't necessarily guaranteed a few weeks ago. The horse was aimed in Maidan for the big sprint over what would have been fast ground, and didn't make the trip for some small niggle. And horses have these, so I wouldn't be put off with that. It's ready now. It's got the fast ground. It's had its prep. It's beat Believing in its prep, I believe. And I think it will win. It will prevail again. Jockey, I believe, is Callum Rodriguez, although I don't have it in front of me. Is that correct?
I actually don't know his first name, so that's a host fail on our part.
Yeah, that's Callum Rodriguez. So that's a jockey who rides in Northern Circuits in the UK. Okay. So he's up for that, and he's had good winning form in recent years on good sprint horses. So he's trusted in this. And then Believing, is that on your screen right there now?
Yes, I'm going to put it right now. Believing, who I think is very interesting also, who again, we want to make sure, and Dave, we should have mentioned this earlier for the American bettors. The saddle cloth number is not, I repeat, not the post position or gate number. The way the DRF has the past performance, you see, folks, they're putting the horses in post position order. So Believing, who is the 9 saddle cloth, is actually leaving from gate 1. I think this horse is very interesting. I mean, if you look at her form, Davey, when she's run on firmer or good ground, she's been very, very good. Her bad races in general, you see 2 and 3 back are on soft ground, and she's going to get nice, good to firm ground tomorrow, Tuesday.
Yeah, I definitely. And we're looking at the 2nd and 3rd favorites here. So with the ground the way it's going, we could have, horses that are favored in the top positions, and including in some of the handicap races on later, which we won't really cover in depth, but we'll have a wink at one of them in a moment. So that's a difficult sprint. These things can, your horse breaks slowly, as we all know with a horse. That you look at the experience in the Diane. There's a couple of horses that broke slowly in the Diane, and they didn't have enough time to catch up, and they had 2,100 meters. So when you've only got 1,000 meters and you break slowly, it's good night, Irene. Really,
Davey, it's interesting that you brought that up, because I want to talk about my top pick very quickly, and then we'll get on to the last detailed race that we're going to cover. The number 6, Rogue Lightning, again for Wathnon Racing and James Doyle, who you mentioned, broke slow last time in his 4-year-old debut in the Betfred Temple Stakes. I didn't think ran that badly. Not only did he probably need the start, it was on soft ground, which I don't think he prefers. He draws a much better post in a race to me that's wide open. And I think he's tactical enough to be not that far back, but will be more closing from mid pack. I think Rogue Lightning, currently 10-1 in the American past performance morning line, is very interesting. Quick thoughts on my topic, Rogue Lightning, and then we'll move on to what is clearly the best race of the entire week.
Well, I would just say you ignore Watham Racing at your peril. I mean, so that's all you need to say about that.
Okay, very live. All right, let's go on. And by the way, I'm working with one monitor. Things are a little bit different. We apologize for any technical issues or anything else that we have, Davey. As I go ahead and I'm just checking right now and make sure I have your top 3 correct in the next race. I'm going to put that up. As I put up some information for the next race, Dave, and I'll take off the PPs here, or I'll take off, the past performance of Rogue Lightning in just a moment. Talk about race 4 tomorrow, Tuesday at Royal Ascot, which has been deemed the race of the entire 5-day meet.
Yeah, it's a special race because it brings together the 3 classic winners across the 3 premier racing jurisdictions of Europe. The Guineas, winner being the Godolphin horse, who won by a streaking 4 or 5 lengths. The Rosalien, the winner of the Irish Guineas, and Metropolitan, the winner of the French Guineas, Italian trained, who surprised everyone and has been supplemented for the race to a tune of £40,000 or more. So we've got the 3 classic winners going up against each other, and it's dynamite. And we've also got an O'Brien horse that was fated last year as being the next big thing outside of City of Troy, because there's always the other O'Brien, who's always just as good almost, and very, very, very hard to get past those 4 horses. But I'll be taking a shot with the French Guineas winner Metropolitan to come in and make up the try.
Yes, you're going 7-6-5. I'm going 7-6-4. We are very similar in the Group 1 St. James Palace Stakes. Now, it's very important for everyone, but especially the American punters who might not be familiar with Ascot. There is a bend at Ascot, and this mile race is not a straight race. They are going around a bend. You can see it on the screen, David. There's a little diagram for people, and I believe it's a 3-furlong finish from the top of the stretch. They do have plenty of time to make their move. Talk about the bend versus the straightaway and strategy. Is it better to be perhaps on the get a lower draw post 1 or 2 on this bend, or an outer draw? I don't think it really matters.
It matters, and you don't want to get stuck behind horses at Ascot coming around the bend. So it matters a lot. And I think Russell, so this will be cagey. No one will be given ground up to allow anyone in. It won't be any Joel Rosario's just opening the door for someone coming through here.
Oh man, you had to bring that. You had to go there, huh, Davey? Let's talk about Rosalien. This is both our top choices. 7-2 morning line. Lost a notable speech. Very quickly, talk about the May 4th Newmarket, the Kipco 2000 Guineas. Talk about that race a little bit and why you think Rosalien can turn the tables tomorrow in the St. James Palace.
Well, as you know, Howard, I bet Rosalien in Longchamp on the airport runway firm ground at the ARC meeting last year, and it won streaking away. And that horse was prepared for this race all along. This was the target, but the horse didn't have a prep run, and maybe they didn't want to lose. Maybe they didn't want to have to deal with certain types of ground. So the horse to me was only sort of 90% ready for that race, unfortunately. Now the wise guy, Mr. Appleby, what did he do? He went to a London track, an all-weather track, Kempton, and roasted his horse, notable speech, 3 times. And therefore people ignored the horse because they thought, well, if it's racing if it's racing at the equivalent of Turfway Park, it can't be any good. But what Appleby was doing, he was getting the horse race fit. And he had 3 races, and he went into the 4th race after Kempton, and streaked away because the horse was was 66 to 1 sometime in some places the morning of the race. It was completely ignored. So that's something you have to be cognizant of, is that maybe the wedding was that for that horse was that day, and you don't want to be going to the funeral for this Godolphin horse. That said, everyone I know is betting it, think it can't lose. I'm staying loyal to Rosalia, and I think she's got the kick and on the hard ground, and I think she wins despite the horse drifting in price right now. She's 4 to 1 now. She was 11 to 4, 3 to 1 yesterday. We might have lost Howard in the thing, so I'm just going to carry on. We've covered the race there for the Irish, for the St James's Palace with the Irish Guineas winner, the Guineas winner, and the French Guineas winner. The Italian trainer Mario Baratti, and it's great to see Italian trainers hitting the big time again, not just Italian jockeys. And that horse shouldn't be overlooked, given its connections and being willing to pay. The next race is a handicap, and we don't talk about it much, but I have played Zanzibar, and it's now into about